Welcome to the 1991 Firestone Production Car Championship, and the season is started by the first race at Thruxton in Andover in Hampshire. Thruxton during the week is an airfield, but at weekends it's a racetrack, and this weekend looks more like a river. The start of the race, the start of the season, and into the lead goes Michael Woodcock in the Sierra Cosworth Hatch, followed closely by the BMW of Frank Cundall. Hot on the heels of which is Piers Johnson in the Honda Civic VTEC. So there's a Class A, Class B and Class C cars in positions 1, 2 and 3. What of Class D, we hear you say? Well, they start 10 seconds after the first three classes, because they're very quick off the mark and often get mixed up amongst the other cars for the first few bends. So the baby class, or sports saloon class, gets its own championship alone. The cars are coming through the chicane for the first time up to the start and finish line, and it's showing how wet the conditions really are. The backs are hanging out, the cars are understeering, they're having a whale of a time. It's Michael Woodcock leading from Frank Cundall, with Piers Johnson still in third place. Fourth is George Polly, fifth is Dave Cox, Piers Johnson's teammate in the second Honda Civic VTEC, then Mike Devine in the first of the Volkswagen Golf GTIs. Waiting for the Class D cars to come through, and they're already catching up the tail enders of Class C. And leading the Class D cars is Steve Morris in the Mark II version. We have amongst the runners the Sierra Cosworth Hatch and the Sapphire Cosworth, who are slowly being reeled in by the smaller class cars who are revelling in these wet conditions and are having fun with their bigger compatriots. Looking from the Suzuki Swift GTI of Brett Darrell, we see the Birmingham teammate Barry Pearson go through and Steve Morris into the chicane through the right, left, right. They exit the chicane, wheels spinning and backs hanging out, past the start and finish line. The green blur through the screen is Steve Morris's Mark II version, who's keeping it on the black bits. Not so with Tony Quinn, who spins his Mark II version out into the gravel. This car won the championship last year in 1990. The Mark I versions of Brett Darrell and Barry Pearson are having fun with the big cars who are getting in their way. Side by side they come out of the chicane, past the start and finish line, and Brett Darrell's having trouble where he's caught the front end of Barry Pearson's car and is spun into the barriers. Barry Pearson's just been overtaken by Steve Morris for the lead in the class, and Brett Darrell gets going again in third place. Still leading the race is Michael Woodcock in the Sierra Cosworth Hatch. The Woodcock brothers prepared car, they're pinning their hopes on the championship win this season, as Guy Povey, who carries the number 1, having won the championship in the previous year, is leading Class B. The Masters of Malden Vauxhall Astra GTE is still having trouble with the corners. He's okay on the straights, but by the next race he should get it together. Barry Pearson decides to opt out of the lead for Class D and gives it to Steve Morris just from Brett Darrell. Barry gets going again in fourth place. In the lead, it's still Michael Woodcock, treading gingerly through the chicane, having got plenty of time to take the checkered flag. Class B falls to Guy Povey from Birmingham in the number 1 BMW M3. Class C falls to Piers Johnson, but Class D is under dispute all the way to the line as Steve Morris in the Mark II version heads Brett Darrell in the Mark I, giving it to Steve Morris his first win in the championship.